I am JackGoldMMA, and I am here with UFC star, 10-0, undefeated, Malcolm Wellmaker. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, brother. Just got done with a training session, hanging out, and enjoying the full-time athlete life.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're retired. You were a pipe fitter.
Yep.
The blue-collar community surrounding you like crazy. But the first thing I want to talk about is kind of about the UFC and how that's going so far. You fought in 3 different places for all 3 fights. You've done Vegas, Kansas City, and Atlanta. What is the biggest difference of going different places? And do you have a preference of staying at like these home games or doing those away games?
You know, to be honest, bro, I love Vegas the most. Vegas is it's like a movie. It's always pretty lights everywhere. It's busy. I can get something good to eat any time of the night. You know, usually they put us in a casino hotel. So I just love how much of the experience of Vegas feels like I'm doing something huge. But all the fights so far have been great. You know, I love traveling. I love hitting the road. But fighting in my own backyard, Atlanta was probably the most special for sure.
And now all 3 of them you've put out cold with the right hook. Has any felt more special than the other?
Chris Mutino in Atlanta. That was by far the most special one. You know, I think all of them have been beautiful performances, beautiful finishes. But the whole experience of the walkout, the music, the crowd, the opponent being known for being hard to finish, Chris Mutino in Atlanta was the most special for sure.
And like you said, he's been known super hard to finish. Former champion Sean O'Malley landed over 230 punches on him, couldn't put him out. You landed 1. Is there anything that you do differently? I know some people are just born with gifted power. Is there anything that you do to make sure you have that one-hitter quitter, or are you just born with it?
You know, I think majority of it is being born with it. But a while ago, man, me and my coaches, we really picked up a lot of things from some boxing camps. So we worked power on like a particular power shield, you know, really setting up heavy hooks, torquing the body. And I think it just all came together on that night.
Yeah, and now with those 2 UFC fights, the actual UFC fights you've had, they've been in the big cage.
Yeah.
Your Contender Series was in the little cage. Have you felt a big difference when competing in both of those?
Absolutely, man. I feel so much more free, and the event just feels so much more huge in the big cages. And especially, like, the Apex is cool, of course. Like, you know, I love the small set, and, you know, I love being able to hear my corner. But when you are in a stadium and, you know, everything is dark except the illuminated cage and just, you know, the stands go up into the ceiling, man, it's just something special about it. And I love that huge cage, that huge experience of being in the stadium in the big cage.
For sure. And now, looking forward into your UFC career, everybody online saying Alessandro Topuria. And what I've been told is Ilya is set to defend his title in December in Las Vegas. That seems like a little far away for you right now. But is that something you'd be interested, fighting Alex on the same card as his brother in the pay-per-view in Las Vegas?
Man, that'd be incredible. You know, just hearing my name tossed around, even though it's not Ilya and it's his brother, but tossed around with the Topuria name is still unreal to me. You know what I mean? I just got in the UFC like you know, a few months ago, at least made my debut a few months ago. And to see how fast the traction has built, to see how excited, you know, the community is, to see me make some leaps and get on some big cards is crazy. So something as, you know, interesting as fighting on the undercard of Ilya against his little brother will be incredible. I'd wait for that if I got that opportunity.
100%. And if they were to offer it, I'm just thinking here of the fight nights coming up and the pay-per-views coming up. He might want to compete closer to home in Spain. We have UFC Paris coming up in September. Would that be something you were interested in?
Yeah, I've never been to Paris. I'd love it. You know, if the phone call comes through, the answer is going to be yes.
Awesome. So anywhere you would fight.
Anywhere.
Paris, bro. Las Vegas, Atlanta.
Doesn't matter.
Do you have any place in the world that you would have a dream to fight there? Like maybe Australia with the crowd, or Abu Dhabi or Tokyo, anything like that?
I think Abu Dhabi would be awesome, but to be honest, man, if I just went on tour in the States, I'd be happy. And especially, I mean, every fighter's talking about it, you know, the White House card. I think that's the biggest sights for all of us because it's something that's never been done in history. So, you know, I really want that opportunity, but Abu Dhabi would be fun to go to as well.
100%. You putting on that White House card, that would be almost, they better be ready. You'd be coming in, and all those blue collar people, they're big. Yeah. They're going to be watching that card, and they're going to be thinking, oh, Malcolm Wellmaker's on it. We're buying it.
America all day. You know, I got the blue collar background. You know, I got the heavy hitter style. You know, I think I have a lot going for me that would fit the profile to be on the USA card at the White House. So I'm hoping it comes together. We'll see what happens by then.
Awesome. And now, getting away from your current UFC career a little bit, I want to just ask you some hypotheticals. If you had any dream matchup, active or retired, at 135, who do you think you'd want it to be?
Dream matchup. They're active. It's against Marab. I'm the machine. He's the machine. We both worked construction, and stylistically speaking, he is the most challenging fight for me and the biggest draw. I mean, he's right now making a run that's going to put him in the discussion for the bantamweight GOAT. So I think that me and Marab is the dream that hopefully one day comes together.
Do you think he gets the job done against Corey Sandhagen at UFC 320?
I don't know. I haven't seen the odds yet. But to be real, bro, Corey Sandhagen is a fighter that's constantly dramatically evolving. Every time we watch him fight, his style's a little bit different. He learns so much, and he is such a brilliant mind for the sport. So I'm very interested to see how he fares against Marab. And I think if he's innovative enough, he'll present some problems that will make Marab have to be a little bit more IQ based than, a bully. But no, man, I see Marab getting it done. I see Marab doing it again, defending his title and being the champ still.
Awesome. And to headline that card, we have the rematch between Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev.
Yeah.
How do you think that one plays
out? I feel like Pereira didn't look like himself in the last fight. There could have been a lot of things contributing to it. Maybe he was just having trouble finding his rhythm and timing against Ankalaev. But I'm hoping that we see a much more entertaining fight, and that hopefully, we see Pereira retain that or get the title back again and be able to be bringing in those draws again.
Yeah, being the most exciting champion in the UFC.
He carried the UFC on his back for a few events, so I got so much love and respect for him, and I think the fans love seeing him being dominant.
And now, kind of getting away from MMA, I'm from Chicago. Mm-hmm. You once produced a beat for Chicago legend Cheif Keef.
Yeah.
What was that like at the time?
Bro, so you got to go all the way back. We're talking about 2012, 2013. This is well before I even got into fighting. I didn't get into fighting until 2016, 2017. At the time, I was in college, and I was like addicted and obsessed with making music. So I was making beats, and at the time, Cheif Keef would hop on Twitter and he'd post an email when he was in the studio, and he'd say, hey, this is the email, send beats. I'm making music right now. And like random people would flood the email. And one day, because we did it all the time, he responded to one of our emails, and word for word, he responded. He said, y'all teed up on O, send more. That's all he said. So we flooded him with more. And, a week later, he used to post these like underground snippets, on Instagram of the songs that he was working on. And we realized one of the snippets he posted was of one of the beats that we made. So I thought I was going to be famous. I thought, music was going to get me out the hood, but it didn't, and it actually didn't get released until it had to be like 10 years later on the Glow Files Part 4. It's a song called Ignorant by Cheif Keef. And yeah, man, I made it back when I was in college and I was 19 years old. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What was more surreal, when Cheif Keef got back to you, or when you were like, I got a call to go to the Contender Series?
Contender Series all day. Yeah. I feel like I was just a young kid almost, and everything was so big and so fast paced for me back then. But when I got a call to go to the Contender Series, it had been after I spent so much time grinding in the real world, going through financial struggles, heartbreak, all these things. And so when I got that phone call and knew that I had a possibility of changing the whole course of my life and everybody around me, it was so much more big.
And this is going to be the last question I'm going to ask. With your career, you said you started in 2017. And your pro career has almost been a speed run. This last couple of years, you've been hitting them out. Yeah. What made you kind of make that decision? Like, okay, I'm going for this. I love fighting. And then now that you've been able to retire, you've been able to make it very far, but not to where you want to yet. Yeah. How did that decision making go through your head? Like, you're like, I can do this. I know I can do this, and I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's crazy because I stumbled into this career. I wanted to get in shape. And so I came here, and after training for a few months, my team got me into kickboxing. I did good, and I wanted to do MMA. So after a while, I made my MMA debut. I knock out this high school wrestling champ, in my debut. And so then I start believing in myself a little bit. And then, fast forward a year or two later, and I'm starting to get amateur titles. And then you fast forward a little bit more, And when I went pro, you know, I remember going pro in my hometown and putting on a big show, and I was happy, but I got the phone call to fight for Icon FC for Jorge Masvidal next. And that's when everything changed, because I realized I was getting the attention on a much larger scale. I was getting respect on a much larger scale. And when I went on that platform, got one of the most devastating knockouts I've ever done, and Jorge Masvidal looks me in my eyes and tells me, like, you're going to be a star. Like, that's when I really, really started to believe. That's when I really, really was like, all right, you know, I'm going all in. I'm going to sacrifice everything I have to until I get there, and I know whether or not I can make a living off of it. And, man, it really came together for me.
And I'm going to follow that up one more time. With the Icon fighting Jorge Masvidal, at his events, there's always other superstars there. He brings them in. At your UFC events, has there been someone that you've been like starstruck in the crowd, like, oh my God, he just saw me knock this guy out cold?
Not really in the crowd. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I'm such a lover of the sport that I am starstruck by the guys I'm fighting alongside. You know, the biggest one by far has been Cody Garbrandt. You know, when I first got in the game was around the time that he was doing his title runs, and he made, you know, that legendary performance against Dominic Cruz. And I wanted to be like Cody. You know what I mean? I wanted to fight like Cody. I wanted fast hands like Cody. I wanted to be known as, you know, a bantamweight with boxing style like Cody. And so when I finally met this guy, he had a son with him. I knew his son by name because I've been following him for so long. And man, I was just absolutely starstruck, and I tried not to fan out when I seen him and keep it short. But yeah, man, being alongside these athletes that I respect so much has been the biggest moments for me so far. And I think the one that's going to really, really hit me is the day that I get to fight in front of Mike Tyson. You know, I've seen Mike Tyson at a couple pay-per-view events, and Mike Tyson's story is so inspirational to me that, you know, hopefully one day I get to meet him, perform in front of him, and earn his respect.
Hey, who knows? UFC in December, Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett, Malcolm Wellmaker versus Alessandro Topuria,
Yes, sir.
Mike Tyson in the crowd.
Man, it would be a dream come true, man. And if everything goes my way, you know, I'll be getting the finish again.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Malcolm.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.